Welcome to Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Episode 275 of our podcast, buddy. We're here. Yeah.
Sounded like you were talking to the one listener, our buddy.
Yeah,
hey,
just
buddy, it's episode 275.
You made it.
Just for you.
Just for you. Big shout out to our patrons, other people who support the podcast. Thank you to AJ who subbed up this week, and everybody else who re-subbed up. We appreciate your faces, and we appreciate you for it. After Dark, our Patreon gets you access to After Dark, which is our podcast after the podcast, where we're almost done Dark. We'll be talking. Oh, I don't actually know. We might not be talking. We can talk about that later. We might not be talking about Dark this week. We'll have to see.
Well,
but,
you haven't seen one episode?
I haven't seen the last two yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I may be able to watch them today. We'll see, but yeah, we'll see. We have been discussing the TV show Dark from Netflix, but also we talk about Path of Exile. Typically more there than here, but
by accident, of course.
Nope, it's on purpose. Pay to play. But yeah, we appreciate everybody who subs up. Thank you so much for your support, and also big shout out to everybody who's donated guild points. We had to create a guild in PoE2, and due to some lack of information, we have repurchased everything up, or are in the process of repurchasing everything up for a new guild in PoE2 for Forever Exiled. So thank you to everybody who's joined it, and a huge shout out to everybody who's donated some points to help us get stash tabs. Specifically, we've been covering the slots, but it's a huge help to get people because those stash tabs are not cheap. So big shout out to Krukus, Lord Urk, Libra X Anima, World to Live By, Loco Scratch, and Lord Hecubus for making some donations to the guild with some points and letting us start to work up our stash tab bundle. I'm gonna have to pause it right here.
And thank you to everyone who offered to donate to the guild earlier. Justin and I were a little hesitant to put money into the guild until we heard from GGG, but it was just taking too long. So there were a lot of people where we said, please don't donate, just because we weren't sure where we were at with spending money, if GGG was going to come through and talk about guilds at some point. So anyway, big thank you to those that were willing to beforehand as well.
And we're back. Take two. Anyway, thank you to everybody. That's what we said. How we left. Oh, Ty's got a cough. I'm not sure why you muted, though. Were you just muting for me on Discord? I'm pretty sure. Okay, don't mute for Discord. I don't need you to save me because I'll forget that you coughed, and then I won't take it out. And while you made my life nicer to not hear it, everybody listening would be like, "Oh my god, why did you miss that one?" Yeah, yeah, because Discord they record separate. Anyway,
just whatever, man. Just
big
whatever.
shout out. Also, obviously, get in our Discord if you're not in our Discord. Speaking of, because it's the best. Thank you to everybody who hangs out in there and talks and keeps the conversation going and helps people out. And Global 2121 is where we hang out in game. Those are all the places, right? We got them all.
All the places, all the things, all the things.
Yeah, That's right. Thank you to everybody. How's your week, bud?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, I've had a good week. My family, my kids are over their illnesses. We gave pneumonia to almost everybody that showed up for Christmas, even though we had it at like the beginning of December. So I guess because it was the walking pneumonia variant, I don't know why it's called that. And if you're looking for a fancy term, I don't know it. That's what it's called. There's regular pneumonia and walking pneumonia. That's all I know. And I know amoxicillin gets rid of a regular pneumonia. And then the thing that you get after amoxicillin, if amoxicillin doesn't work, that gets rid of walking pneumonia. Apparently walking pneumonia,
you can catch it?
It takes forever to get. Like you get it, but then it takes forever to show up. And then you have like a pretty brutal week. And then it takes a long time to go away. Well, my wife is one of those people that the doctor's for other people, but she's fine. So she's not fine. She went to the doctor, got some antibiotics finally, which is good. She's a big kid now. And, but my kids are great. Even my daughter, who's susceptible to that stuff, she's great. So I was able, my daughter was healthy for like 3 days out of the 2 weeks of the Christmas break.
Yeah, that sucks.
So like just before school starts, she gets better. So she was able to go back to school right away, which is good. But yeah, it's good. It's, I don't know, for their own different reasons besides the global reasons for everybody. It's really important that they're at school, the different, just because of who they are and the little things. Like I hate it when they miss school. You can see just in their individual personalities, the different reasons why that social setting is so important. So
totally.
as a dad, that's really nice. I'm totally fine. And sucks to be my wife. We hung out a lot. Path of Exile 2 is pretty bad for our marriage, I think.
Oh, you and your wife hung out a lot. That's so funny.
Yeah, because like we're spending time together, but like even our date night on Wednesday.
You playing PoE2?
Yeah, we're not hanging out. She's streaming, so she's not hanging out with me at all, even though we're on the same Discord chat. She's talking with everybody, having a great time, and I'm like, lady, listen, we've been standing still for 5 minutes
over here
while you interact with your chat. Like, I'm moving on. All right, let's go.
That's awesome.
But she's also now, you should have heard her on Wednesday.
Oh?
Well, I won't repeat it, but have you seen What About Bob?
Obviously.
If you have not seen What About Bob, listener, please pause this.
Oh, go watch it.
What About
it's
Bob?
So good.
Rent it, buy it on YouTube, whatever. Bill Murray, really, really wonderful. Remember the scene where he's at the sleepover with the kid?
Yeah.
And there's the Tourette's?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a thing. It's a thing for my wife.
Everyone playing games gets it.
Well, what's the easiest way to put this? I have. This is going to be a very positive episode, just for people, just in case they thought Doomsday was coming. But she got GGG'd this week.
Oh yeah.
She now knows what it's like when you have the whole evening free and you dedicate 5 hours. And like I'm talking like Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile, whatever. It's all the same. You dedicate your 4 or 5 hour evening to yourself, and you're like, F it. This Path of Exile time, and you come out of that experience hating yourself and everyone just a little bit more. She had one of those experiences. So, we like go upstairs, take a couple breaks, go upstairs, have a shot. It's like, so it's early access. We know we signed up for this. We even paid to sign up. Take a deep breath. Big patches will come. Big patches will come.
She's working her way through the acts still, right?
Yeah. Act 3 normal. Not in cruel, and just kind of figuring out things. And it's good. Like, it's good. It's just, it's a state.
She's playing a warrior too, though, right?
She is. Yeah. I forget which warrior it is, but it's the totem one.
I think. Yeah.
And the totems are expensive, right? So she's running a lot of mana problems, and then she's like figuring out which tags are worthwhile. But the game's like completely glitched. Like, there's just so much blatant stuff that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like, sometimes like this week, we'll get into it, but this week there was a patch where sometimes when you used a flask, you lost life. Like there's just some real big basics that aren't working. And so you don't know what it is if you're doing something wrong or if it's EA. So point it, and not getting into that now, but we had a great week. We're still together, and things are good, man. Things are good. How about you? Your week? I've barely been able to, I could hear you. Not like when you stress, you like shut down and you're quiet and you're not like a screamer type of thing. But I could hear your silence a few blocks away all week. You could there was something about you where you could tell that you didn't even have time to blink.
I don't feel like I existed much this week. I mean, yeah, whatever. People give me a hard time because I always say it. It was a very, very, very busy week. And it's tied off into
very, very, very. Did you
tied off into a very busy yesterday and today, which is now going to turn into an even busier next week. But you know what? In the end, it is what it is. It's busy. I like being busy. Work is bananas, and but I don't know. I get to see Ethan and Matthew will be down in a couple weeks, so we'll get to see them for Christmas. I'm looking forward to that. My kids, everybody's good. Like, we've been dealing with this bout of like it's what's that thing called, a sinus drip or something? Like everybody's had it except me and Logan. So Christina and the
you're
girls.
Gonna be so grumpy next week because you're gonna be sick.
I haven't caught it. They've had it for a while, dude. I take things to fight it off. I'm not even letting you get near my body.
And the second you get the sniffles, you panic and your hair's on fire. I take
everything. Oh yeah,
that's right. Don't take while drinking. F it, I need this shot too.
Yep, I will take everything. I don't like being sick. I am a very bad sick person. So yeah, but they've had this like I don't know, it's some sort of nasal drip, but it causes, Christina has asthma. So when it kicks in the coughing, it gets a little scary because then she gets, can't breathe, and that feeling of not breathing. And then when your kids are sick, it sucks to watch your kids be sick. So Yeah, it's good. My daughter started Skittleball, which is a game that they play in school.
Right. Yeah. That came into
it is.
Existence after we left school.
I think Ethan might have played it in school. I've asked every single one of my kids what is Skittleball when they start playing Skittleball, and I still don't remember what Skittleball is. It sounds like it's a version of European handball. Like we used to play handball, which Logan's just starting to play now in high school. And he's like, Dad, I played this game today and it was so fun. He's like, it's like Skittleball, but it's called handball. And I'm like, dude, you mean Skittleball's like handball?
You can dodge a ball.
Anyway, so she's playing Skittleball, and apparently the school has decided that it makes the most sense to have like 3 days a week of practices and games and driving all over town. And I'm like, yeah, cool. You better.
Two of my nephews drove into the neighborhood to play.
Oh, really?
Your daughter, yeah.
They haven't played. She hasn't played a game yet that I know of. But I was like, you better be chatting up some of your friends' moms, because I don't know how to get you there. I can barely handle dance. Like I have to do that one day a week.
It's not like it's far. Worst parking lot in the world, though. So
yeah, if there's games there, then that's cool. I'll go watch a game there if I can. But like to drive to other schools and to have to like the PE teacher's like, we'd like them to arrive 15 to 20 minutes early to warm up. And I was like, get stuffed. Like you're sending like 2:30, 2:45. People don't just have an hour of free time at that time on a weekday, typically. So anyway. Yeah, but she's very, very excited. She's loving it, and she loves that she gets to walk home from school by herself after it's the practice is over. It's a short walk, obviously, but she loves that she's by herself.
Totally.
Doing her walk. So
my kids today walked to school by themselves, and you should have seen the smile on their face when I told them that I wasn't ready to leave. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
They both walked to school on their own, and the smile on their faces was like, yep, F you, Dad.
That's awesome.
I'm out of here. It was, it's pretty funny. But I love
it. Changes
it's tough because I'm the same way. Oliver wants to get into soccer, and I've been forgetting. And Violet wants to get into some fighting classes.
Cool.
Oh, and you should see her pretend to fight, man. It is the most like.
What kind of fighting?
She's basing it on how it sounds. Mm-hmm. So Taekwondo is the winner. Mm-hmm. Taekwondo beats karate or jujitsu. But yeah. So anyway. But you should see her pretend. Oh man, it's like spaghetti. It's hilarious. But anyway, the point is like the competitive sports. I just remember it for me. It's so
busy,
bloody valuable, and so it's so tough to like you know how valuable it is as a parent. In retrospect, both you and I did lots of that competitive stuff as kids.
I was at the point of driving though when I did most of mine. Like I did do some, I guess, as a younger kid. That is true, but it was
Brett
always
and I
weekends.
Were cheering you on at high school like crazy. Though you're doing basketball.
I was driving.
You didn't start in grade 9. You started in grade 10.
No, I started grade 10. But like it was always weekends too. Like outside of school competitive sports, they also always bussed us. We were always bussed to games. Like it wasn't on the parents to drive them to them. But anyway, you were talking about fighting. I will say my sister, who has 4 kids, and they're all very young. Yeah, her oldest is very much like your daughter, but jujitsu was insane for her. They all got into it. My sister got assaulted one time in Vancouver by a bum. Came up and just like smacked her in the head, and it set her off. And she's like, I'm not going through that again. She didn't like it. And so she got into fighting, and they got into jujitsu. And then all of her kids got into it with her, and her husband does it too. And her oldest daughter is like awoken this kid. Like she is just, and she's skinny, just this small skinny kid, and she is a fighter. Like she takes on people that are 2-3 times her size. And awesome. I just saw pictures recently of her taking first place at a tournament.
Justin's sister, if you ever listen to this, don't listen to this part, because it's those circumstances. Like my daughter's quite frail, and I don't know. Yep. She's like one of those, what do you call them? Those like things that are like blown up by the advertisement guys that are like blown up by air, and they're waving around in the wind, for car dealers or whatever. Yep. That's my daughter. And so I would like, when she says she wants to get back into fighting, I'm like, That's so awesome because I picture her getting really good, but still looking the way she does.
Same
and
way,
so somebody's going to pick on her, and then all of a sudden it's like, like I secretly want those people to get picked on every now and then, just so that they can kick the crap out of somebody and then walk away like, damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
If I find it and I can remember, I'll send you the picture of my sister's oldest daughter at their fighting tournament, because she went like the lead up to it. She got her hair all done in this like really tight braid. Like she looks like she's going to kick your ass, and she's this tiny little girl. But the way that they did her hair up, that she wanted it for fighting for this tournament, it just, and then I'll have to show it to you. I don't even know where it is. Some family chat somewhere. But
how's everyone else? I kind of interrupted.
Everybody's whatever. You know what? We're good. Christina and I went on a date this week, which was, we haven't gone out, just the two of us in forever. So that was fun. We went out for dinner, and then I came home very excited because I wanted to watch the new Count of Monte Cristo, but it's all in French. Wait, I didn't realize it's all French. Out? Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's all out, but I don't know. It's
wagging my finger at you, Mr. Justin.
We started it up. It's a French film, which I don't mind. I would watch it with subtitles.
If you knew how to read, you'd love subtitles.
Hey, listen, Dark. Thankfully, Dark's all subtitled. But
imagine if you knew German, though. Well, I wonder how different Dark would be.
Well, it'd probably be easier to follow.
No, they're probably all mumbling.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Ahead.
But anyway, it's all French, so we didn't watch it.
You just weren't in a reading mood?
I don't mind the subtitled stuff. Christina doesn't like it as much, and we were tired too, so I don't remember what we watched, but
all right.
Yeah, and then I played Path of Exile. When I got some downtime, I turned on PoE and played. I did play actually quite a bit. I got to play, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, you know what? Life overall, very, very busy, but it's good. And I know Tyler's normally the one that does this, but if you are in the LA area, hopefully you're safe. And crazy fires, holy balls. What's going on there is nuts. So if you are in that area, hopefully you're safe, and good luck to you.
It's so,
I don't know what else to say.
I know, right? It sucks. Like you wish you could do something.
Sending water your way. We had, I was just reading a story that we have one, because obviously we have a lot of planes that are used for forest fires because it's a regular occurrence here.
Yeah, it's a tradition.
One of them is currently downed in, I think it's South California, because it hit a drone that was being flown by a civilian. And so that plane is now currently not in the air fighting fires because it has to be repaired because of some idiot flying a drone over top of the fires. I was so irritated when I read that. I was like,
I wonder,
piece of garbage.
Like, it'd be interesting. I mean, drones are they're not common, but they're not uncommon.
They're pretty common.
I'm curious because I've never looked into it, what the air restriction rules are.
There are. I don't know what it's like in the States. Like in here,
maybe we're at that stage where there's not actually the awareness or a law of like, hey, in this type of emergency, please stay, whatever. I mean, I don't know how you would measure
common
it.
Sense, though, too.
Well, it is, yes. But at the same time, how many times does that happen? And it never happens.
I can't say. Somebody else will probably be able to comment on this better than I could for the States. In Canada, wickedly restricted. Yeah. Like you have to, if you're flying over 250 gram drone, which 250 gram drone is very, very small. Anything bigger than that, you have to have an actual license. Like you go through a piloting license for those.
See, I think that's awesome. I wish people needed licenses to own dogs. I hate dog owners.
Me just too. I wouldn't have one. It'd be awesome.
Take a class, and then then they have no excuse to be an idiot.
From drones to dogs to Path of Exile, you get everything here.
Actually, I just wanted to say my lawn. I can still see my lawn.
I know.
And there's been some pictures in Discord of some pretty amazing snowfalls. They cannot see their lawn, but we can.
Yeah,
it's almost the middle of January. January 10. Hey, it's Friday.
Yeah.
We're getting into this week in Path of Exile, but the day this releases, so we're not quite there yet, but the day this releases is the day Sunday. That GGG is doing a video announcement of their next patch.
So I was going to ask you,
We don't. This is coming out the same day. Unfortunately, we're not going to be up to date on that until next week. So just as a heads up,
we won't watch it until it'll be part of 276 next week. But are they doing like a live stream like what they used to do for like league announcements and what they did for PoE2 for a patch?
We will get there. That's the last thing in our notes because I have lots to say about it.
Oh, okay. All right, fine.
We are not going to go with that type of chemistry and natural segue into the conversation. We're going straight to Reddit. Our prayers have been answered. Mark Kevin on Reddit showed a picture, and that picture is when you go to create a filter on the Path of Exile 2 website, when you choose which platform you're going to make it for, you can now make it for Path of Exile 2, which wasn't a thing, and they didn't announce it. And if you go into the About section, so filters, and then About, and then that's where they have like all the different commands that you can use. Mm-hmm. There's one that says Path of Exile 2 only.
Okay,
and they didn't announce it, which is fine, whatever.
I assume
Maybe
these are
not
PC
ready
still?
to yet. Well,
PC.
no, Path of Exile 2 is just Path of Exile 2 now. There's no difference between them anymore.
But you can use filters, like you could use these on console then?
Yeah. Okay, so if you have, that's the way it's going to be. And that's how the whole cross-platform compatibility works, right? So now they don't have to, when I go and make a filter, I have to, for PoE 1, I had to have one for PC, one for Xbox, one for PlayStation. Now you just make it and it's just one and that's it. Yeah, it is going to be really cool. So, but anyway, thank you, Mark Kevin, for noticing that and sharing that.
I just looked, Filter Blade's not updated yet for PoE 2 yet. I'm just using some one that I found on Reddit. It was a link somebody sent me for one.
Yeah. I'm excited to get into filtering, but
Are you?
Yeah, but I really want to know how much it needs to be done. So as opposed to if I just want to do my own colors and stuff like that, because I really want to play with the default filter for a long time. You know what I mean? I really want to see how, well, like, is it really bad in maps?
Yeah.
In Waystones, it's horrible.
I mean, based on the content you're doing and the amount of mobs you're killing, yeah, it is.
It's like, it's still way too much is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And is it still a lot of pointless stuff? Not stuff that's not good for your build, but stuff that's you're not going to bother IDing or hoping to roll. Right. Yeah. Okay. And it's not build specific.
I can't say that necessarily
pointlessness.
So much for rares that drop. It's not, I mean, I do now at this point leave rares on the ground for sure. Rares are, I mean, they are less than what they were. So they are, you can still pick them up and you're getting at least regal shards from them. But there's a lot of crap on the ground with the default filter. Again, though, it's based on the amount of content you're doing, the amount of mobs that are dying. Like you'll see a lot with breaches and stuff.
Yeah, but that's the point of the game. At some point, you're trying to kill lots.
You want to kill lots.
And right, yeah. So that's, okay. So GGG has been silent for a very long time, to the point where when I go on the feedback section, I've been posting a lot, Justin. I've been posting a lot.
I saw your
bugs, feedback. Oh,
good for you.
It's grown. It's grown a little bit. I have to hold back and only do like 1 or 2 a day. That being said, the feedback section moves really fast. And I'm not talking like,
so that means a lot of people are using
replies. Yeah. Like,
that's good.
I organize the site by creation. Well, hopefully it's good.
They better have some system in place for checking that.
Yes. Yeah. See, the amount of feedback you're getting is great, but same thing when like the amount of feedback they were getting and questions they were having from their original, what was it? Account merging post before EA was even officially announced to early access. Like their ability to handle that flood of information was apparently quite poor, right? So unfortunately, you don't have the experience of dealing with them in hopes that like we're still waiting for guilds. We have emails that are like 6 weeks old now. Like it's, well, right. But the point is like, okay, so now they're getting a crazy amount of feedback. I hope they're like,
they must have some system in the back end. It can't be a person that has to click every single message. And if they don't, then they should look into that, because we have people in our Discord that could build them something that will sort it all and whatever. But
So a lot of the community, there was a lot of vocal posts about how silent GGG was. Of course, they deserved the Christmas break. That's not a criticism to Christmas break, but of course, the timing of, you have your very first early access, you have one big patch, and then you're like silent. There wasn't even any communication throughout the holidays, no plan,
no MTX
tweets,
free box thing. Come on, guys.
Well, it's not to be expected, but that's normally something that they're very shut your face. But that's normally something they do, and so the fact that they forgot that just kind of tells you how like overwhelmed they were or desperate they were for a break. Now, again, assumptions, but it just kind of tells you where they're at compared to other times. And so a lot of silence. So there was a lot of frustration, a lot of people waiting. And so I just want to, as a heads up, and this is also me speaking to myself too, because I can get pretty frustrated with the game. We know it's early access. We know there's a lot that needs to be fixed. But if the things that you think are really important don't get fixed with this first big wave of this next major patch that they're going to announce on the 12th, which I guess is your today, but not our today, don't be disheartened. Like that stuff's coming. They're fixing.
Well, or maybe it's not though, too. People have to also expect that sometimes the thing you don't like is just the way that the game is. I'm not talking about bugs, but I am, when it comes, and I'm going to bring it up when we talk about our week in PoE, armor, for example. If there's things I don't like, I may have to just suck up that's just not the way that they're building the game. But for the bug stuff, I think they will get to it.
Right. Now, that is one thing that I'd like to bring up just before we get into the patch. It's a nice little segue to rushing the game, right? Well, here, let me say this quick and then remind me about armor. So GGG's silent for a long time. I hope they had an awesome break. I really feel like they're encouraged and ready to get back to work because, lots is coming. It's early access, PoE 2. And it's getting a ton of attention, like all that silly Elon Musk stuff and everything. Like their name's just everywhere, right? The amount of fluff posts that I'm getting on my news feed, I'm happy for the company, for sure. So they come back from break right away. We're back. And then boom, boom, boom. There's a lot of small patches coming out. There's all of a sudden like 6. There's server maintenance. You can tell that they're ready to go. They're gearing up. And then all of a sudden we get an announcement it's a post about an upcoming patch. But normally what they would do with a big post coming up is be like, hey, here's a big patch coming up. It's going to focus on this and this. And here's a list of the preview of the patch notes, just as a heads up. It hasn't been posted yet, so it could change, right? If something comes up. Instead of doing that, which is what they normally do, they're like, hey, this is an announcement of an announcement. Which we love, of course, right? You can't be a fan of GGG and not like announcements of announcements. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so great. And that's not sarcasm. I actually quite enjoy that joke. Yeah. But they're doing a video.
Which is what they always do.
The 0.1.1.1 patch.
Right.
And we, as soon as you get into the 0.1s instead of the letters, it's going to be a doozy. So here's the thing. Like there's some stuff like you had the saying that you said you use about, what is it? Perfection is the
enemy of good or done.
Or progress. The antithesis.
Perfection is the enemy of, everything. The actual one I think is perfection is the enemy of good. Perfection is the enemy of done is also used in we use that. But yeah.
Yeah. So they've been working on PoE 2 since 2019, right? It's been a long time. Of course, they've been changing their mind like crazy, all the way up to even they were just changing their mind all the way up to the LA playtest that we went to in June or July, whatever it was. And then even up to early access, there were things that they changed just before, I think going to that one flask system. I think they said they decided to do that 2 days beforehand. So point is, it's tough to make decisions and sometimes you don't realize how long you're deciding and humming and hawing on something. Armor is one of those things where when we were in LA, it really surprised me that it was the same. Sure, the math will be a little different, but at the end of the day, I was surprised that one of the primary defenses, out of the 3 primary defenses, not talking the extra stuff that you add on, I was really surprised that armor had the same opposite, I'm going to call it an opposite value system. It's only good against the weak hits, and it's not good in the important battles without absolutely insane investment. Now, again, sure, the math could be different, but at the end of the day, it's stronger against small hits and much, much weaker against big hits. Now, no matter how it's balanced in PoE 2, that really surprised me, because that seems like something that's okay for Path of Exile 1, because that's just how the game grew, and that's how it was designed. And so you still have to build around your fundamentals no matter what you want to change. But when you have the opportunity to change everything, I'm really surprised that one of the major global defenses is really weak at your most important times, especially when you're adding a hardcore element to the game of 1 turn per map. So to me, that's just kind of one of those things that's like, shoot, we'll get to it. But it was kind of like one of those things that ended up getting rushed or pushed aside. To me, it just doesn't, I mean, sure, you're right. Maybe they don't like it, but to me, it just kind of conflicts. It's one of those many things that conflicts with a lot of the other decisions that they've made. And so now we're getting into the patch that they're going to announce, 0.1.1. What do you think it's going to be about? Why are they making a video?
Because it's a class. I think that they're going to have a class. However...
Well, so you think it's just marketing?
I do, yeah. I mean, all of it's marketing in the end. All of it.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about it today, because I actually didn't even realize that it was going to be this announcement thing. I thought that was a little bizarre. They were doing it as if it was a league launch or the release of it, but whatever, that's cool. I'm excited that they're going to do it, but that to me makes the most sense if they're announcing some sort of class or something. And I think Huntress was always at a relatively ready to go state, maybe not ascendancies, but we'd seen it in gameplay.
Yeah. Druid early on too.
Druid too, yeah. However, which is cool if that is what it is. This is just my assumption that maybe we're going to see a new class that you can pick and a couple new ascendancies. I hope they address other things, and I'm almost certain that they will anyway. And I'm not even going to talk about like the armor or the whatever, the other things people don't like within the game, the stuff that I could go on for days about with regards to on-death effect and all that kind of shit. But I hope that they address specifically the one map, the one portal decision, either that they've kept it and here's why we like it, or that they've reconsidered, or they're thinking of other options or alternatives or something. Because that to me is one change that has drastically just changed so many different parts of the game, or made other parts of the game seem harsher than they should be. The on-death effects and shit on the ground is way harsher because of a one portal system.
And it was stupid to begin with, but
I don't like it anyway.
Right?
Yeah. And I get that they do it and that they're obsessed with them, and that's fine. That's their thing. But they've made those different parts of the game feel worse because of what you lose out on when you succumb to something like that. And so I hope that I really hope that somewhere in here they address it. And I'm not saying that they have to change it, but at least explain the philosophy behind why. I would love to just understand the reason behind why they went that route. But for me, the reason to do a video is a class. I can't see them going like, here's like episode 1 of Forever Exiled. They're just going to read through a patch note of change. I just don't see that being the reason. I can't think of a reason to do a video. I imagine a big part of it's going to be a thank you, because it has been an incredibly successful launch for them. So I imagine there's a big part of them sort of just gushing on the fact that thanking people for making it what it is and sticking with them through all the stuff that's gone on. And here's what they've got planned for the upcoming. I mean, you have to remember too, Path of Exile existed for over 10 years. And I imagine they have the same plan for Path of Exile too. So there are going to be so many new things, changes. You know, we're going to be playing a drastically different game, even in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. So I would imagine it's a class. That's my feeling towards it. I hope that the 0.1.1 brings in some other gameplay related changes that I would love to see. I would love to see life being buffed. I would love to see armor make any sense at all. Like, besides, sorry, I actually do want to hear what you think this is going to be about, but I do want to come back to armor. So yeah, go ahead though. What do you think this video is for? This thing on Sunday?
Well, I think like if this is if early access, if they're going to try and keep it under a year,
zero chance. There is no chance this only goes a year.
Well, Christmas is only once a year. So this isn't a good indicator for what early access progress is going to be like. And their original first big patch was it was a good timeline away from the original release and giving people time seeing their stats. So we'll see. I mean, think about how many other ascendancies there are, not just classes, but ascendancies. Yeah. You have to, like, if you're pacing the other 24 ascendancies out over a 12-month period, that's a minimum 2 per month.
Well, but also you're not pacing them. You can't pace them if you want to test them.
Exactly. So you need them out, within 9 months at least? If you're planning on 12 months, you need a few months to make sure that all that crap is balanced. But at the same time, ascendancies right now aren't working very well either. And the amount of criticism that there is towards, whether you like it or not, there are a lot of people that really just don't like the ascension process, right?
Well, the ascension process is garbage. I like the ascendancies, and I'm excited to see more, but the process to ascend, awful. And I'll say it, I don't care. Like, that doesn't bother me. People know I can't stand them. I think they are, I love the mechanic of what they are. I think that they have a place in Path of Exile, but they do not have a place being representative of how is your build and how can you progress your build. That's where I just go like, what? This doesn't make any sense. But anyway, we've talked about that before. Anyway.
Yeah. So I do think there's going to be reveals because they have no time to not reveal things in a certain system. Well, yeah, that does need to come too. That's going to need a lot, especially if they're going to just be a stick in the mud about how, and again, maybe we're in the minority and it's just, we're a loud minority for those that don't like how we ascend the trials. But if they are going to choose to just keep this process and that's just the way it's going to be, and just tweak those trials instead to make them appropriate,
which I think
for
is what
whatever
they will do. I don't think they'll change it.
The third trial, I think, is going to come much sooner than later. But you know what? That actually will come with Act 4. They're not going to introduce that in Act 3. So no matter when that's ready, when they introduce the next act,
is that what they said?
When that'll, yeah, they said that it's not. You'll. Well, I mean, they've changed their mind 100 times, but the last time I heard about
story
it was
related or how it fits in. That
you're not going to have your third ascension in the same thing. So it'll be when the next acts are out. So, but another part of me was thinking that this video is, in a way, catering to new people and also reminding early access people that it is early access. So, hey, we've heard your feedback. We've gone through it all. We just want to remind you it's early access. A lot is going to change with this patch. A lot of builds are going to be changed. I think it's just going to be one of those, not necessarily over the top, but a reminder to people that are playing this like a game as opposed to like an early access game. Reminding people that stuff needs to change. There's going to be big changes. There's going to be big mechanical changes. But I think from a personal standpoint, because they released Endgame, they're in a really tricky spot right now. I mean, the first 3 acts still need a lot of balance work. They still need a lot of balance work.
I thought the acts are amazing. I thought they were so good.
There's certain bosses that need strong looks at for what is your character expected to do with what they're given. The fact that there's right or wrong skills to use at certain points. How much of an investment should there be in this skill for it to be valuable in these fights? There's still a lot that needs to be balanced in that regard for sure. But then you also have Endgame. And for the people that like some of the stuff that some of these people in the acts go through, because remember, it's not just for experienced players too, right? If you're trying to make this game for everybody and you're catering to new people, there needs to be an avenue of understanding there as well. So hopefully this big patch doesn't just focus on Endgame, but hopefully this big patch doesn't just focus on the acts. But at the same time, there's going to be so much that needs to get worked on that there's going to be a lot that doesn't get touched. So I think it's going to be, yes, a reveal. Yes, there's going to be a lot of fixes, but I think it's a big part of it is that it's just going to be a reminder to people that it's early access.
Well, and it's not like 0.1 is the answer to everything. I mean, it's a process. They have to, things will change over time and they can't hit everything right away. So I hope that they don't have to remind people of that, but maybe they do. But there's
a lot of their feedback. See, so one issue that they had with like all the emails that we've talked about in the past and not being replying and it being completely overwhelming for the system they have was they didn't even update an FAQ. It's not like they took a lot of frequently asked questions and had a pinned post on their website or in their forum saying this. Sorry, we don't have an answer for this yet, but here it is. They didn't do anything to mitigate that traffic. So now you have a feedback section that is scrolling like crazy. There's so much new stuff, but so much of it is heated. How much of that, like if you're trying to go through all the feedback, you have to mitigate all that heated stuff somehow. You know what I mean? So maybe, but there's no way to really do that with an FAQ. With the email thing, yeah, tons of those questions could have been answered on an FAQ of like 20 questions on an FAQ. Save themselves an insane amount of time. But when it comes to like gameplay specific stuff, it's a little different, especially when there's always going to be changes. You can't really have an FAQ for a lot of these things. So I think a video is a good way to calm the waters a bit for those that need their waters calmed.
Are they doing like a thing afterwards then?
Yeah.
Oh, are they?
His name?
Okay.
Darth Microtransactions or whatever his name is.
Who's doing it? Is it Jonathan?
Yeah, Gazzy and Darth Microtransaction.
With Jonathan?
With Jonathan and Mark.
Okay. Cool.
So
sweet.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I'm really curious to what that's going to be about, what they're going to choose to prioritize and what's waiting.
Mm-hmm. I want to just pop back to, are we talking about our week or what are we doing?
Yeah, man.
Okay,
I don't know what our record time is right now because we took quite a break.
We took a break and I'm just, what time are we at? Yeah, I still got a little bit of time too. We were talking about armor and I was laughing at Tyler that I was glad we didn't record last week's episode later than we did, because after we finished and I got everything edited and ready to go, I started playing and just was frustrated with I'm playing a Titan warrior, want to play the big banging bulking whatever. I had turned him into playing with totems, which probably Warbringer might have been a little bit better, but it's still good. I mentioned to Tyler, thank you for adding the note. Their placement, like the auto aim for some stuff, is very, very good. There are some issues with auto aim for sure. I've noticed it more so now that I've gotten onto playing a ranger, which I'll talk about in a minute, but their totem placement on controller, so good. Like it feels really flushed out. I really liked how totem placement worked on controller. But armor, on the other hand, I couldn't understand. Like I'm doing high tier maps. I was feeling strong, but I only ever felt strong while I was using resonating shield or resonating, whatever it's called, which is I'm just like pounding my shield as a warrior and it's actively blocking while also breaking the armor of enemies around me. But that was the only time I felt strong. I was like, how is it that I'm having to like juggle quickly not blocking to throw out a totem because I'm taking a couple hits? And in my head, I'm going like, I have like 80 something % armor. I shouldn't be stressed to this, like to the point where I'm like trying to time
You have 80% invested in armor or 80%
no, I have
physical
80%,
damage?
81%. I think 80% physical damage mitigation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Way more percentage invested into armor. Yeah. I get it.
Oh, yeah. I had poured all my points into armor, or not all of them, but a lot. And I had invested in the gear to make sure I had really high armor. And it just was really irritating me that I was like, how am I this scared to
place a totem,
not be blocking against the thing? So anyway, I brought it up in 2121 and I was like, I just don't understand armor. I'm getting so frustrated by it. And somebody was like, you should watch Kriparian's video. And I was like, man, I don't want to watch a video. And they're like, you should just check it out. So I did watch it and I sent it to Tyler. And he broke down the armor issue in PoE 2 and then also addressed or gave reference to somebody who had done this very extensive testing on Reddit and the results of these tests. And I I don't get it. I mean, it looks like they've messed up. First off, I feel like this has got to be just a bit of a mistake and something that they can tweak or fix, because there's no reason it should be worse than Path of Exile 1. But besides the fact that it is working like garbage, I don't understand why armor percent can't just be armor percent. It's always something that I've struggled with even in Path of Exile 1 days, but why make it harder on yourself and the player? If I see that I have 70% physical damage mitigation, then give me 70% damage mitigation. I don't get where maybe I'm missing something. I'm sure somebody could go like, well, actually, and
you're either making the game for the user or you're making it for the developer. You have to pick one. And if
you can't be though. This isn't for the developer. There's no way this is easier for them. There's no way.
There's no value. There's no reason to have that statistic show to the user when you have armor designed as it is. Exactly. It is right now. So you're not thinking of the user in this regard. And when at the end of the day, that's the only way they can see it. If they're not showing what armor really does based on whatever, like for example, you can click on slow in the game and it says it has a penalty, 30% penalty against rares, 50% penalty.
I think armor does say something about it, but you could never ever describe it well enough. It would be impossible, because what am I supposed to? It's too ambiguous.
80% again. It's just all it says is that harder hits, it's less valuable against harder hits, but there's no way for you to know that in the game. So that's kind of what I said about them. They have the opportunity to completely change. They've had 6 years to figure out what they want to do with physical damage mitigation, and they kept the same unuser-friendly system.
Yeah, they kept the same system and somehow made it worse. But it's always something that's confused me with PoE 1, and it really is frustrating with PoE 2, because after watching his video, talking to some people in 2121 about some ideas and some alternatives to try, there is no way that what they mean for this game to be is that I need to find modifiers that are physical damage taken as in order to deal with physical damage. That's silly. I should not have to focus on doing all of these things to have a physical damage taken as fire and then find ways to bump up my fire res when there is physical damage mitigation already in the game. Right.
Not saying that those modifiers suck. Like, they're great to have in the game, but to use them because a different mechanic is so useless is pretty sad. Also,
they took most of those out. Oh, there used to be a lot of other physical damage taken as. But I started to realize, like, no wonder I felt so strong on my witch, because I have a dog that's taking 20% of the damage. I have physical damage taken as chaos, and then a big energy shield. Like, I never blocked once on my witch, and I was doing the same tier content, and it was just driving me crazy. So I would rather see them like nerf the value in the armor, make it harder for me to build up the actual physical damage mitigation to a high percentage, but make it that's that. Make it that if I see a number on the screen as 70% physical damage mitigation, that I know I have 70% physical. I honestly couldn't. I watched Crip's video, and I appreciate people spending the time and looking into all this stuff. I don't want to have to look online to find out what is the amount of damage that this mob is going to do. Oh, it's between X and X of physical damage, so my armor is not going to count. That's silly to me. If I just want to know that whatever I see on the screen of 70%, people were talking, I saw this conversation where people were like, well, evasion's just as bad. Well, it's bad because it's a roll of the dice, but I think actually evasion's actually very good. And I think it's hard to make an argument. You can more easily make the argument of like, hey, you got unlucky. I don't know exactly. There is a math behind this. Jesus, please don't comment on it. I know there's some weird math about how many hits happened and whatever. I don't really care. Armor mitigation for me was so frustrating because
it doesn't work. Evasion currently works, whether you like the mechanic or not.
Yeah.
The evasion is working in the difficult content, whereas armor, no matter what you did, it required an absurd amount of investment.
I could never get my armor to what I was able to get the effective value at by switching into fire and stripping all. I mean, man, did my build become way stronger in the offensive side and more things that I could look into other things because I stripped everything out of armor. I had so many more points to play with, but I was like, this sucks. Like I loved feeling like I'm a big boy, I'm tanky, I got it. Well, let me take the hit. But I was like, I am scared to not block in high end content. That's not, I shouldn't be doing that as a warrior that is put all these points into armor. So anyway, I did switch my Titan. I got him to 91. I was doing the content. It was fine. And then I just decided to start something else. So yesterday or the day before I decided I wanted to play Ranger. So I'm going to mess around with the Ranger. So I got a Ranger I got it to endgame. So it's at least finished the 2 difficulties. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I went Deadeye because I didn't want to do Pathfinder, but I have no clue yet what I'm doing. I just leveled with Lightning Arrow and Lightning Rod. It was actually relatively easy, but it's also easy to level subsequent characters later because you have gear, you have currency. I traded. Leveling a range character is exactly like leveling a melee character. You got to upgrade your weapon every, 4 to 5 levels, and it made it pretty easy. But Lightning Arrow has made it controller less. It's not as good as what the controller felt like with totems. I felt really good with melee and with totems in general. Lightning Arrow is not there, but that's not fair because I'm talking from a personal perspective, which is I am not a 2 joystick player, so I'm not.
That's
aiming.
What auto aim's for, right?
Right,
so
but
some people do auto aim in a game.
No, but some people play it and it works for them. I get it. They use the 2 things. That's outside of my scope of what I want to do. So I probably could. It could probably feel better or stronger if I wanted to do that. But I'm also going like, I'm playing controller because I don't have enough fingers to play on PC. Or with a keyboard and mouse. I feel like giving myself a break and I've enjoyed it. If I played with the right aiming thing, then I feel like 2 buttons. I wouldn't be able to hit any of the A, B, X, Y. I'd only have the 2 bumper, like I guess maybe 4, but whatever. I just don't do it. Let me do the auto aim. It's insanely good with totems. It's not been bad with range. It just feels different. It's not as smooth, but overall, I've had so much fun. I have done endgame. I have the Atlas. What I thought was a problem just seemed to be a bug where it was locking me to how much of my Atlas I could see. I was seeing these flat lines where I couldn't get them anymore. But reloading the game and getting back in actually does let me scroll through my whole Atlas, which is, it's nice, but it's also overwhelming because I don't know you can't search it. There's no like ability to find, the type of maybe map you want to do. And then you showed me this week how to scroll through the passive tree with the right analog, which is way cleaner than what I was doing leading up to that.
Yeah, both analogs have their benefits, but yeah, right analog's smooth. Doesn't make you nauseous.
No, it doesn't have the jitteriness. But overall, like I've had so much fun. I'm really enjoying it. I was showing Christina today though, or yesterday. She was watching me play for a bit. And it was kind of funny because I was showing her some of the things that were frustrating me, and then I kept dying, and she's like, why are you dying so much? I'm like, because I just don't care. I haven't got my resists up. She's like, don't you have gear for that? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, go back and get the gear to make it easier for yourself. But I was showing her the coolness of the level designs. Like I think the storytelling and I don't really care that much about the story, but I was actually explaining some of the story to her. But the design of the levels is phenomenal. Like
you talking how it looks or how
it looks and how it works
within it. Okay.
Like how it works in both. I think I was showing her in Act 3 opening this lever, now drop the water and the main part of this town, and now I was going down into the town. Like just their design is very cool. The way that the world is, I think, is awesome. It's been so much fun. And then I showed her what the river hags were, and how stupid they are. But overall, like, my experience in the game has been super fun. I wouldn't be able to play it like this long and this much if I wasn't having a good time. There are certain things I have to suck up and get over because I don't like them. The only thing I will bring up that I cannot stand is on death. And I've talked about this, but it's not even just on death. It's the crap that they leave on the ground. In Act 1, when you're heading towards Gregor, there are these tiny little dudes that blow up into this blood pustule on the ground. And I noticed this the very first day we were playing or whatever, and the frustration, but I've now done the axe a number of times. So every time I get back to there, I'm like, God, who made this decision? Like, you give me this tiny little pathway to walk through, and then you're going to leave stuff on the ground. I quite often am killing stuff and then just going like, all right, I'll chill. I'll wait this one out because I don't want to run through it. I know I could run through it, but I don't always know what's on the other side. And I don't want to start a fight half health. But yeah, overall, my experience this week has been a ton of fun. I still think the portal system is something I'm really hoping they address because it's happened not often anymore, but that's just because my character's stronger and I'm playing differently. But I still find that there is a lack of fun in having to come back to a breach, come back to an expedition, come back to some sort of mechanic because of my concern that I will lose out on the map by taking on something that might be a little bit stronger or just more of a challenge. And I don't mind the risk versus reward of like opening a breach, and if I mess up, the breach closes. That's different than if I mess up and I die and I've lost the remainder of the whole map to complete. So but overall it has been fun. We'll see how the Deadeye goes. I still hate ascending. My Titan is still at just 3 of the 4 ascendancies. I tried, man. I did it on the Witch. I did all 4 on the Witch. And am I missing a class? Do I have another character? Yeah, the Monk. I had help with the Monk from Floof. So thank you so much, but I couldn't find Floof to help me with my warrior. I tried with the totems, and it's not that the actual process of getting to the boss. I can do that. You got the RNG, it's the BS, but you get a good run. You're like, all right, sweet, go into this fight. That last boss is exhausting for me even with totems. And then to go back there, I was like, what am I doing this for? I don't need that. I don't need those 2 points. So I don't know what I'll do with the Deadeye. We'll see.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
How was your play time this week? I know you played a lot with your wife.
Yeah. No, I don't like it. I don't think like the game's in it. No, it's not. I know it's early access and I'm choosing to play, so it's not anything like that, but it's not in a good state. And I'm finding myself in so many situations where I'm looking forward to the fix or the balance or the tweak. One thing I am loving is seeing GGG go a lot more all out with their advertising. Like, I remember wishing this in Path of Exile 1 days, but I'm seeing Path of Exile 2 on my Xbox home screen, right? Like, hey, get it now, available now.
That wasn't a thing before?
No, they did nothing. It was nothing ever.
That's them paying for that?
Yeah.
I assume. Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm loving it. I love that, right? I mean, of course, like I complained about, now it means that I'm getting a whole, like before when there was an article about Path of Exile 1, it was like, oh, that like 1 out of 3 magazines, like the person that's writing, for PC Gamer or whatever, they played and they wrote like they were never fluff articles. You know what I mean? It was always, well, not always, but mostly legit. Now the amount of fluff that's coming through my news feed is like, oh man, come on. Like, there's nothing to click on now because like I'm missing all the good articles because of all the crap that's out there. But I'm loving it. And that's what I really want for them and for the company. Let's see. I have been trying lots of things to progress and enjoy the character. Some of the ideas that I had didn't work or they weren't balanced properly. So I'm going back and around. Like, there's just some fights in the game where I'm like, I don't know how I could do this with these skills. Like, these are the skills the game wants me to use. I'm playing a very typical Path of Exile demo build, and I don't know how. So there are a few fights, like, who is it in Act 3? It's the coolest looking fight on the planet. It's like one of my favorite looking fights, but it is
the Viper.
Yeah, where with the shield, and she has all the shields around her. It's the coolest looking one. It's not a fun experience at all. It's not at all. Like, I think a lot of these fights need to be planned around the user not having rolled movement speed. You know what I mean? I get that at certain stages you should have dodge roll mastered. I get that, and figured out where the frames are for not taking damage. I get that there's certain situations where that should be, but I don't think the user should ever be in a position where, for this boss mechanic, you have to dodge roll perfectly or you're toast. You know what I mean? Or have epic gear that maybe you're just very, very lucky to have at this point. And as silly as it sounds, I think the Gregor fight is one of those as well. Like, when you're in the smoke, it's extremely overwhelming, that situation. By Act 1, there's nothing really up until that point that teaches the user they need to have both single target and some form of AoE. You know, that's the first time that happens. But you're not at a convenient location to change all that up. Like, sure, you can portal out of town. There's a check mark there. But if you lose your portal, that's a long road back to that boss to see if your changes are beneficial. But even some of the skills that I've been using, and now I've respect a lot. And sometimes I've gone with like pure defense to see how it works. Sometimes I've gone pure offense. Right now, I'm doing... I started again as a sorceress, and I'm doing cold skills.
Started again. What do you mean? Like, new? Was that a new character? That
I started a new character,
okay.
As a sorceress, and I'm going through, and I'm at Gregor. No joke. I actually had to unspec a damage node to put int because I didn't have enough intelligence just for to socket my supports. Like, that's how much my whole tree is damage. And I'm doing the damage that I think I should be able to do, but I'm forced to put in that much damage. Otherwise, these skills hit like nothing. Right. So I'm doing the really unfun thing of because you can only have the one support per build, but there's not a lot of supports that help with, there's just not enough supports there for if I'm using something like Frostbolt, right? For more single target or people that are farther away, but I'm using Ice Nova for when I'm surrounded by all those wolves. I have dot damage as well that I'm doing through a curse, and that's actually quite strong. But because of the amount of investment I need to do just adequate damage, I don't have what I need to survive. Yet at the same time, there's not a lot of survivability when you have 15 points. Like, how those trees start, a lot of it's just offense or travel nodes. Sure, mana regen at the beginning too. That in the north side of the tree, I'm not familiar with starting on the south side, but that's really all there is. And it's just, to me, there's some of these fights. Unfortunately, I think there's a bunch of them, but that are just not balanced for the first time a user goes through that. You know what I mean? Being able to fly through with gear that you already have on a second playthrough, sure, that's a completely separate conversation. But I think the campaign always needs to be designed around the first experience someone has in a league.
I think it happens just before it, but one of the things I remember doing on my first playthrough with the Viper fight was you get a reward of choice where you can take the poison charm. And that actually helped me a lot on the Viper fight because once you're poisoned, you become immune to poison and the charm kicks in or whatever. And I found that helped me a ton on the Viper fight. But I do agree with you in the sense of you're not always well prepared from what the game gives you. Why did you start another sorceress?
Just quickly, the poison thing helps, but the only time that I've passed the Viper fight, I was CI. So I could completely ignore the massive purple explosions that she was doing. I could just stand in them. That was great. But the really fast spitting she does with her hands, I didn't have the movement speed to get out of them. The dodge roll, the skill, the spitting, she spits long enough that dodge roll barely work. It really doesn't work because she spits longer than you're invulnerable for. You don't get out of the way fast enough. It's just she's spinning too fast and she still hits you. But I don't know what the thing is, but that's not pure. I have to avoid that as CI because it's not pure chaos damage. But so the reason that I decided to respec was I was tired, or to start a new character was I was tired of respecking. I respect again with my Chronomancer, and I was enjoying the process, but I've just been like, it's just gold, and respecking this and just to try it out, and then respecking to try this investment out with these skills and respecking. So one thing that's been really nice about the Path of Exile 2 experience is the more action-oriented version of how skills are. There's no more leveling skills, which I wish was still a thing. The more you're leveling, the more ARPG it is, and I like that. But for figuring things out, it's nice that I haven't had to restart every time, right? I was able to try out like 9 different characters over the span of this month because I was able to do this gold respecking and then just an unsocketed gem to pick this, and it's already at the level that I want. You don't have to level supports, right? Because they're just stuck at that level forever. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, are you not going Chronomancer then with this one? Or like,
no, I'm still very attracted to the slow that the Chronomancer does. That's just natural. It doesn't reserve anything. I mean, you can't tell that it's on. So hopefully that's something that they fix, right? Hopefully before they add new ascendancies, they make sure that these ones are honed in pretty well. Because there's nothing in the game that even tells you that you have that slow aura. There's nothing that tells you that the enemy is slowed by that aura. For all my other Chronomancer stuff, you get a skill for it in your skills menu. There's no skill for this aura. So I don't know. There's just nothing for it. So hopefully that stuff gets fixed before they add a new ascendancy. But I got tired of respecking, but I also, it was funny. I went to go play with my wife when we were having our date night. We were going to go play PoE. And I'm like, yeah, just give me 30 minutes. I just need to respec. I'm excited for this idea and I really want to try it out. And so I do, and I respec, but I only had enough gold because I was at the very edge of my gold now. I only had enough gold to do like half the tree. So I'm like, crap. All right, well, whatever. As I get the gold, I'll just respec one at a time and slowly move them over and it'll be fine. I just won't be the ultimate help for when my wife and I are playing together. Well, so I was originally doing Mind Over Matter and Eldritch Battery. Right. And I was unspecking from that to go to something close to my original build that I had, which was a lot of energy shield and maybe eventually CI. I unspec'd MOM, but I forgot to unspec EB. And I went CI. So I'm literally running around with 1 life. And we're in the area where we're approaching Doriani. So it's like tons of off-screen stuff. Yeah, there's tons of lightning damage. So many projectiles and so many machines that are like moving really fast. And then all of a sudden, you can't see these little wooden arrows they shoot that do crazy amounts of damage. And so from off-screen. So I'm like, dead. And I'm like, sorry, dear, I just need 1,500 gold. That's all I need. And so like normally you wouldn't care about 15 gold dropping on the ground. I'm like, I'm getting it. I'm dying to get that 15 gold because I only needed 1,500 gold to unspec EB. And then, someone would drop 200 gold. I'm like, oh dear, don't you dare die. I need that. Like I'm obviously dead and I'm waiting to be rezzed, but the game spawns like the amount of that enemies travel in the game is you really notice it when you're dead and you're waiting to be resurrected because my wife has 1 more person to kill and then there's no danger around and then she can res me. But no, now there's 3 people she needs to kill and now she's down to 1 and now there's 5 people. Like they just wander around so much. And then all of a sudden one of them's a rare and she's like, sorry, Tyler, I'm going to be 5 more minutes. And right. So it's kind of funny, but at the same time, I'm negative lightning resist, just nothing. I've just, for whatever the RNG reason is, the lightning resist is not showing up at all. And so I'm negative 14 lightning resist running around with 1 life.
Are you picking up like gear to sell? Like for the gold?
Yeah. Everything. I'm transmuting everything. I'm auging everything.
No, not transmuting, auging. I mean, to get the gold. Like, are you selling the stuff to?
Yeah. All the time. Not everything. I mean, there's too much loot for that. Was just thinking, but then I'm like, okay, you know what? That's fine. Like, I eventually got out of EB. I got the stuff, and I'm helping my wife with Doriani, I think, the Act 3 boss at the end. Mm-hmm. And that one was an extremely frustrating experience for her, for sure. I actually really liked the boss fight, and I think it's well done. It's
really cool.
I think there's still too much. Like, the amount of stuff that still, like, the tells are really good. That boss fight is well designed. It's just, I don't know. There's something. Do you think that maybe bosses, there's too much health? Like, do you think the bosses last too long on a first playthrough? So your first playthrough was a while ago, right? Mm-hmm. So really only comment on this if you...
I think they were a challenge. I don't know if it was too much, but I
too
think
much of a challenge. Like, did you need to be perfect for too long?
No, I think I just needed to learn this stuff. I thought they were definitely a challenge. They were hard. It was not a Path of Exile 1 experience, but I kind of like that. Like, I felt like it was a new struggle. But also you're playing co-op, so that you're double.
Oh,
and the problem with double means that it's massive.
It is punishing. Mm-hmm. It really is. So yeah,
it's also harder when you play in co-op, because in single player you can start to learn their moves. It's really hard in co-op because you don't know who's actually being targeted sometimes, and you don't know. It's kind of harder to learn a tell if you're not sure. Like, did that happen randomly, or was that targeted at my partner that I'm playing with? Like. But yeah, a double multiplier on health, that's rough. That's really tough. So for me, it was a challenge for sure, a frustrating challenge in some points, but I don't know that it was, if I ever thought that there were definitely times where I thought this guy has way too much health. Like, I don't know if you ever did the boss in the lava, that timed one that I told you, the vault one.
Stupid.
Awful.
That one, awful. It's so
but
dumb.
It unlocks the friggin' reforge. You have to. That unlocks the reforge.
What's the reforge?
3 to 1. Take 3 items, break it into, upgrade it into 1. So, like, maps, waystones. I want to turn these 3 tier 3s into a tier 4.
Travel to go there?
Travel to go. No. You get the item in your hideout. It becomes becomes an item. But he unlocks that. That being said, I went back and did him.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that when I get to it. I tried doing that.
I tried the first time, yeah.
I'm like, you're joking. This is actually a thing for now?
Yeah, like, I hit the wall and I was like, what? Something's going to happen. Like, something's going to happen and give me more space. Yeah, like one of
those magical bridges that shows up like in Doriani.
Yeah.
No, like, that was seriously one of the things where I'm like, really? Come on, guys. Like, this is what I have right now.
It was at least optional, though.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Optional in the sense of you could continue on. I mean,
a boss shouldn't. And I get, like, they have tons to do, so this is just one of the things that I hope they do. I just hope that they're able to take a look at their bosses and look at them from a first playthrough standpoint. Obviously, I think a boss shouldn't be tuned so that it has to be. You go back to it when you're twice its level. You know what I mean? So hopefully something happens there. But yeah, a lot of the skills that I've been trying they require too much investment for the state of the game that I'm at. And so in that regards, it just hasn't been a fun experience. Enemy mod combinations has been a very unfun experience going through the game, and you come across an enemy mod where it's hasted and it has mana siphoner and you're in Act 1. You're like, just get lost. Like, I'm trying to play. Like, there's a difference between challenging and not being cared about or being complacent. You know what I mean? So
when I restarted played the Ranger 2 days ago or whatever, when I started it, the first time I noticed something like that was in Act 3 in the Mastodon area. And I was like, what is happening right now? And I actually was asking the chat, I'm like, is there like a bug where my Atlas passive is transferring to because there were so many rares and it felt like they had an extra combo, but there were a couple of them where I was like, if you see a giant elephant like running at you, with like the fireballs that are flying off of it. I was like, just kill me. Let me restart this one. I'm not going to kill you.
Even those witches in the Mastodon area, they shoot from like
drop
2
the stupid
screens
fireball
away. Yeah.
That one makes me so angry.
They are so far away. When you get a rare one of those, I don't even care which. I mean, I get that any enemy can get. That off-screen damage. Don't even get me on that whole gravity bit from 6 years ago.
the tell for that fire one is too short. Some of their tells are at least a little bit longer, but that fire one is like, oh, it's glowing, boom, you're dead. It's crazy how fast it comes down.
I'm like that with some boss tells too, but overall, like I'm excited. I
still don't
for
understand
what the game
why you
is
started
going.
over.
Oh, because
you're
going to
go chrono.
And I'm tired of respecking, and I was tired of being in
but aren't you gonna be in that
halfway
same
state of a build.
Do you have an idea then for this one? Like,
yeah, but see, the thing is I also keep changing my mind, and I'm not, and because I'm not having a fun experience. I'm just not enjoying the process of the game and how things are currently combined. So I am really hoping the leveling experience does get looked at again. I hope they don't feel like they're finished with it. I hope individual bosses get looked at. I hope, like, I love a really rare loot system and I love a challenging game, but I understand that it's a tricky balance to have challenging. Who have rare loot system means there's not a lot of options for the user. And then you obviously don't want your NPCs to be where all the loot comes from in the leveling experience. So I get that that's all tricky, but at the same time, I'm finding myself like, what am I supposed to do here, guys? Like, what am I supposed to do here? I hate needing to ask for help when I feel like I have a really strong build in the process. Like, I'm not thinking my build's going to be strong. The leveling build, like I'm doing great. Everything's great. And then all of a sudden I come across a rare combo or a magic enemy that somehow has more life than the boss, or you have to be in the perfect spot for certain things to anyway.
What's the other alternative to chrono? But you're going to make that ascendancy, right? Like, it doesn't make sense.
No, I'm going to chrono.
Why though? I don't understand.
I want to see what the leveling was like again. It's been a long time since I leveled. And so I want to see it. And I swear that they made like a secret patch. The amount of rares I'm getting for this character from the time that they said that 1.1 was coming out, I've never seen that many rares with my level 55 Chronomancer. And I've already seen like 8 rares coming up to Gregor.
Did you ascend with this one already?
No. And that was one thing that I kind of want to mention. I'm like, I hate ascending. I hate the mechanics for ascension in this game so much that I didn't want to restart. You know what I mean? Like,
but you did.
I did.
Yeah.
But it's just because I wanted to see what the leveling process was for cold, because I hadn't done cold leveling yet. I wanted to see what leveling, putting all my damage into cold and then doing cold spells, because I'm big on slowing enemies. And so I'm big on chill. And so I'm spell damage, cold, lowering cold resist. Like, that's the whole tree. I want to see what that experience was like. And
your Chronomancer is done the 2 difficulties. Did you finish Act 3 Cruel?
Nope.
Because I'm just curious. I don't
have the gear for it. I can't. I have -14 lightning resist on that character. I can't. It's so.
Where are you at in that part of the act?
Act 2.
No, we got to Act 3 Cruel for sure. Me and you were playing.
Well, I don't think so.
I think we did, but I was just curious because if you were, I don't actually know how it works, but I wonder how it works if you join with another player's waystone, because the loot is shared, but the gold is instanced. So my gold doesn't show up for you and your gold doesn't show up for me. I'm curious what would happen if you stood at the entrance to a map. Obviously you couldn't do anything, but then ran through after everything was dead. I wonder what it would do.
But I'm still like, I still need the loot, or I still need the I still need the items. Like I have
but you get the items once you have the stuff. If you're I'm just saying, if you're struggling to do it.
Yeah.
I just don't it's weird to me to have 2 Chronomancers, because then if you did the other one, you could maybe, if it was doing something, get the gold to then respec the Chronomancer, because you'll just have.
Well, I'm probably not going to care about this one. I want to see what the leveling experience was like. And I'm finding that with the cold spells, all the cold spells, with all cold damage invested at the point that I'm at Gregor, it's not a fun experience at all. I'm finding that I need to be perfect. And like I'm getting to the second stage without using a flask. It's fine. But then when I get to that stage, because of all the offense I have, which I'm not doing a lot of damage, but because of all the offense I have, now I'm getting frozen quite easily. I have 2 charms right now. One's lightning, one's slow. So I'm like, oh crap, no chill, no one. So it's just one of those things where I'm trying to play the game for the sake of early access. I'm not trying to play the game for me, I guess you could say. But just because of the state and some of the tweaks in the tuning, it's just not fun. When I forget that it's not fun, I'm getting very excited to play. And by the time evening rolls around, I'm like, yeah, all right, let's get this going. But then as I start fighting, a lot of the enemy base types aren't fun to deal with. They move around too much. And if I'm using Incinerate like I am with my level 55 character, Incinerate turns around so slow. Like I had to...
Like while you're channeling it?
Yeah, there was a fight that I was doing where the boss moved around so much that Incinerate never hit it because it just slowly moves around. But then if I like pick up something like a staff and I'm just using the firebolt that comes with it, it's almost like it's instant. Pew, 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 pew. So it's just one of those things. So I've it's not fun, but it's early access and I'm playing for the sake of early access and for the sake of providing feedback. And so hopefully, like you said, they have a really good system for feedback because I'm happy with the feedback that I've sent. So I hope that somebody reads it.
What do you want to see as the change though? Like if you're, I feel like you're putting yourself through pain by going back and making the same character just to try cold.
Well, right now the character is irrelevant with the exception of starting as witch. It doesn't matter what I'm going to ascend to because I'm not going to do that till Act 3, right?
Right.
So so it's just, I wanted to see with everything that I've learned if respecking into this was worthwhile. There were some of the skills that I tried to use that people were like, oh, you should know better. Oh, well, you're just not playing the skills right. So, I wanted to go back and use some of the skills that I was trying to use in my first playthrough to get me through to what my build was going to be. I decided to use these skills and fully invest into them and then just respec out of it later. And no, they're just crap. They require too much investment. So then I'd have to play the bosses perfectly. And then if I unspec out of those so that I'm a little bit more balanced and can survive some of these hits, then I'm dealing like no damage and the fight lasts forever. And I still need to be kind of perfect because it lasts too long. So just one of those things. Those are the kind of the things that I'm looking forward to the patch 0.1.1. I really hope part of the leveling experience gets looked at. I know other people are being able to fly through it, but I really don't want there to be a situation, and it's a personal preference, because Path of Exile was not this, so maybe that's where my personal preference comes from, but I don't think there should be certain skills you should use to level when you have a whole bunch available to you. You know what I mean? I know that some skills are more utility skills, right? I'm not saying those utility skills need to be just as strong as one that's supposed to deal damage. I get there's combos, you have somebody frozen, you do the free snap or whatever it's called. Like I get all that. But just in general, if skills are available and they are those damage dealing skills, I want them to be balanced. It would suck that you always need to use, well, you're an idiot for using this skill. No, I'm not. There it is.
Yeah, I get it.
So
cool.
Those are my hopes and dreams for 1.1, and I am looking forward to, I gotta say, it was a hilarious experience for me, not for my wife, because she was already frustrated when I joined. But when I had one life and I'm like, protect me, Squire. Oh man, it was great. But one thing that I have noticed, and part of the reason that I also respect was because with the one build, and I love what I've been doing and the different things that I've been trying with it, but the one thing that I've been trying, also, people are pretty scared that MOM and EB are going to get modified at some point. I think too many people are using it. But I've been really enjoying the curses that do damage. Like Burning Inscription is the one where the curse does Burning Ground when it activates. And I just love Decaying Hex and Impending Doom. But I'm finding that there's just way too many, I guess you could say, important encounters. with rare enemies or unique enemies, where they just move around too much for burning ground to be valuable. You know what I mean? Because the burning ground's there. And sure, that's great on some bosses in some situations, but quite often people are moving around quite a lot, and to have like a decent sized AoE on the ground, they just move around too much.
Is it a damage over time only while they're in it? Is that how it works?
They're only burning while they're on the burning ground. I guess they call it ignited ground now. And so that was I was really enjoying.
That just didn't apply a dot that carried with them, so that if they ran across it, they still continued,
and
to
they
take that
still kept burning for a little bit. That'd be nice. Well, that's decaying hex. See, that's the thing that I like about decaying hex is you curse the enemy, they're just taking chaos damage over time for like 8 seconds or whatever it is. Doesn't matter where they go after that. So I love that. And then impending doom hits them no matter where they are, right? Because once they're cursed, they run around with that curse on them until it explodes. And so my idea was I was going to, and I loved the idea, and I was taking all the information that I've learned from the game so far, and I was really enjoying how it worked. I was going to be using Essence Drain that would trigger the chaos version of these skills and the chaos damage. And then whenever I felt like using Incinerate, I would do that. And instead of the chaos version of the skill, it would be Incinerate and Flammability and Burning Inscription. And so I liked the idea. And so I really want to use the weapon swapping. And so I was trying to find, okay, I know you get 24 skills, but shoot, now I have 23 fire nodes. Crap. How do I use 23 nodes for chaos? You know what I mean? Because you don't want to waste those nodes and just have them blank. And so it was kind of a fun puzzle. I found myself in some tricky situation, but it was a fun puzzle. And I was really excited for it. And I was going through and I finally figured out like, yes, this is going to be an efficient way. It's got me for clearing. It's got me for damage. I'm excited for the defense. Let's get this going. And then that was the build where I ran out of gold on. And I'm like, oh man, all right, screw it. Let's just start over.
Why don't we just run you through? If me and you just run through it, then you get the gold.
Well, I get that, but I don't want, for me, like I want to be a part of the early access thing. I'm not playing it.
It doesn't make sense to put yourself through pain to and I'll just to provide information that you don't even know if it's going to be used in the end. We don't know how they're going to use it. For sure. And so that's why I'm actually restricting myself on how many posts I do. Like, I think I've only done like 20 posts. You should see my Google Keep note for all the other things I want to add. But like, the things that are annoying me now don't get better in endgame. It's the enemy mod combinations. It's things not being properly tuned, skills not being balanced, certain tells needing maybe a tiny bit more reaction time, a split second more reaction time, so stuff like that, right? But the only thing that improves this experience is having gear, right? Like just, and I'm not even talking damage. I'm just talking resists. Like I'm running around with 14 to 20, and I get that it's an RNG experience, but you know, that's where my hiccup is right now. So I don't know, because if like another major patch comes up, I'm probably going to want to have an experience. If they tweak the leveling experience, I want to experience it again, but then I'll probably want to respec my one character. So I don't know. I don't really know what I want right now. Well, I think we should run you through, get you the gold so you can try the build out, because it's easy for us to do that. And then you could try it. I mean, in the end, do whatever makes you happy and you have fun, but don't put yourself through not having fun for the sake of providing feedback because it's an early access.
Oh,
screw that.
Sure.
That's silly.
No, I agree. But the things that are bothering me are things that are throughout the whole game.
Yep. But it's not going to change. So either do you want to play in the end game and progress your character, or do you want to go back through the start? You know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of what I choose. Like, I'm like, okay, I know I'm not enjoying the current state of Path of Exile. Do I want to play Path of Exile, or do I want to watch something on Netflix or Prime? So when I sit down to play Path of Exile, I know what my experience is going to be. So like, this isn't like, oh, wham, poor Tyler. It's just, these are the things that are frustrating me right now in pre 0.1.1. And hopefully I'm not the only one in the boat, so that maybe it gets looked at, maybe it gets tweaked. I'm looking forward to seeing what GGG comes up with on the 12th, which I guess is the day this releases, because I don't know. I'm curious. What do they think is important? What do they feel they rushed that needs to be tweaked right away? This is the first time in a long time that they've emphasized caring about the new player experience. So I'm curious where that falls with this. Like, does the new player experience endgame versus campaign? Interesting to me.
I think it's one of the reasons I don't watch the, I mean, I don't have time, but the questionnaires that they do afterwards is they're going to tend to be just, not opinionated, but like built off of somebody's experience of how the game's been for them.
Questionnaires.
And so whatever they do with those people afterwards, after the live thing, after their video goes out.
Oh, I thought, sorry, my brain went to like what we had in LA where they like, here's a thing, fill this out.
I feel like because they end up being based on that person's experience. I don't know that there's any ability for them to answer every question that could possibly be wanting to be asked. So hopefully there's like a TLDR version of whatever. Maybe you'll be my TLDR version. I don't know if you're going to watch it, but
no,
I am curious.
Afternoon. I'll be busy.
And you won't watch. I assume they record them.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Is it something that interests you? That's all I'm.
Totally. Yeah. But I'm not going to see it till like a day later.
We ain't going to talk about it till Friday, so
it doesn't matter when we see it.
No.
That's right.
All right, let's wrap this up. Forever Exiled 275. I'm Justin AK Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Patrons, we'll see you in After Dark. Everybody else, we'll see you next week in 276. Hopefully this announcement for 1.1 goes well. If you're looking for more information, you'll find down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. We have a very fun Discord. Pop in there and say hi. And Patrons are the way to support the podcast. You'll find them down below. Good luck.